Good morning, everybody. This is Josh from the Paddock Channel, coming to you from Puerto Princesa in the Philippines. It's in the island of Palawan. I wanted to make another video for you guys. One of our subscribers actually asked me to make a video of specifically my medical issues that I had that we posted on my last video. So first of all, for those of you who have not visited our channel before, go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you like the information that we're putting out, as well as the other videos on places in the Philippines. Subscribe. We're looking obviously for new subscribers, and share if you have any friends or family that are going to be coming to the Philippines or even traveling in general. Within the next 6 months to a year, we've had a fantastic time here in the Philippines so far, and made a lot of new friends all around the world. It's just been absolutely the best time of our life. So with that being said, I wanted to address specifically the medical issues that I've come across here in the Philippines. And some of this will be maybe a little more than you need to know, but I figured that I just want to be upfront with my medical issues so that you guys, if you have anything similar at all, that you guys know kind of what I've gone through since I've been here in the Philippines. For those of you that do not know, I am a retired Marine. I retired in 2012 out of Camp Pendleton, California. 20 long years, body took a complete beating, and basically a lot of my biggest issues started around 2010, prior to my very last deployment. Came back and started having some issues with anxiety. It was the first of many issues over the following 2 years between 2010 and 2012 that I had onset of panic attacks and anxiety attacks. I think it was mainly because I was getting ready to retire from the Marine Corps, and that's kind of where all those things started, along with knee issues, back issues, shoulder issues, had neck surgery, all these types of things. So that leads me to what has happened over the past 10 years or so. I was diagnosed with all kinds of things as far as stomach issue goes. That was one of my biggest issues, has been what they thought was IBS. Now, I don't know if any of you have IBS or not, but I went through the gamut of tests, from colonoscopies, which I've had a couple of them, endoscopies, I've had a few of those as well as eating tests where they basically feed you a piece of toast and an egg, and it's to see how your stomach digests the food and how long it takes. It's an empty, basically a stomach emptying test. So I've had that. I've had blood tests. Everything really came back pretty normal until about 2000, and I guess it would have been 19 or 20. We were living in Las Vegas, and I was diagnosed with a disease called M.A.L.S. It's called median Arcuate ligament syndrome. And the reason why I bring this up is because it is, for men specifically, it's an anomaly. I am one of very few men that actually has this disease, and it does affect your entire abdomen. Basically, your median arcuate ligament is basically strangling your celiac artery. So there's not enough blood getting to certain parts of your body in your abdomen. So it'll give you some bloating, it will give you just this complete feeling of fullness all the time, as well as some cramping, some diarrhea, some constipation. Like I told you, it's gonna be a little bit, maybe a little too much, but I wanted to give you an idea of the medical issues that I had prior to coming here. So the big ones for me really are these stomach issues that I have, as well as the anxiety, which if you don't know, those two play hand in hand. So coming here to the Philippines was a tough decision for me because I was very unsure. Travel for me is very tough, whether we're on a long road trip, which we love to do, or flying, or just being away from where there's going to be a bathroom or some sort of issue like that for a long period of time is very stressful for me. And that became an issue here in the Philippines. During our first month of stay, we were in Tagaytay, and a pretty built up city, pretty close to Manila. On about the fourth day, I was starting to have issues with heart palpitations, and from there, my anxiety kicked in, obviously. So I thought, what the heck, just go down and get checked out. So I went down to the ER there in Tagaytay at the Tagaytay Medical Center, was greeted right away. Had my temperature taken, had my blood pressure taken. My blood pressure was pretty elevated, and obviously my anxiety started kicking in. So, first thing they did was an EKG just to see if, how my heart was doing. And upon doing the EKG, they let me know that it was abnormal. So, okay, what does abnormal mean? I don't really know. On an EKG, I've had those before, no big deal, never really any abnormalities at all. But this one, they said there was kind of a little bit of a skip. So, they did the usual. When you go to the ER, they're going to hook you up to an IV, put some fluids in your body. If you're dehydrated, they're going to make sure they rehydrate you. They started giving me some morphine. They pumped me full of all kinds of stuff. I don't even know what half of it was. But about an hour into it, I started feeling better. And, my heart rate was down. They did a second EKG, which this time was normal. And they did a bunch of blood tests, the markers that they do to see if you've had any heart-related issues or if there's been any damage to your heart. Everything was good to go. So, at that point, I was thinking, well, they're just going to let me go, and no big deal. Well, came in and he was like, well, upon completing all the tests, we want to admit you to the ICU. But my wife and I spoke to each other about it. We said, give us some time. We need to talk about this issue, because going to the ICU from having abnormal or normal blood tests and normal EKG and now a resting heart rate of around 90, I didn't really think it really called for that. So, we decided not to. And what we did is we started making appointments to follow up with the cardiologist once we got back to Manila. So we started talking to some of our family members over here. And one in particular has a brother who is a cardiologist at St. Luke's Hospital. And so we decided that we would give him a shout. He set up an appointment right away for us. Immediately, he set up blood tests for me as well as a stress test. So going back to Tagaytay real quick, before you leave the hospital here in the Philippines, you are required to pay the hospital bill. Okay, so I believe our bill was just over $600 for an ICU, or not intensive care unit, but an ER visit that was probably around 4 hours long, I think. So that paid for all the blood tests, the IVs, obviously, a couple of EKGs, as well as an X-ray. They did do an X-ray too. Everybody was extremely friendly, so it wasn't like they were rude or anything like that at all. So the hospital staff was very courteous. The only thing that concerned me was them wanting to put me into an ICU when the blood tests and everything that came out the second time was perfect. Actually, my blood tests are very good according to the last test that I took at St. Luke's Hospital. So yes, I am in the middle of filing a claim with TRICARE. It's been going on at least 2 to 3 weeks now. So I had to change from TRICARE Prime over in the West. So we live in Arizona. So I had to change from them to TRICARE Overseas in order to file this claim. So I did that. No big issue there. I contacted TRICARE. They made it pretty easy. Then I had to get all my paperwork, obviously, submitted to TRICARE Overseas for that claim. And I'm still waiting on that claim at the moment. So again, it's been about 3 weeks. They said could take up to 30 days. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't have anything to report on that at this time. So now we're going down into St. Luke's. We're in Manila, and we're seen by the cardiologist. The very first thing that I run across as far as payments goes was the doctor's visit. Each doctor visit that I went to was 1,500 pesos, which is equivalent to a little less than $30. It's $28 and some change, I believe. Those had to be paid really there on the spot as soon as we were done with the appointment. The appointments were pretty quick. Really, he was looking for, again, the blood tests and the stress test that he ordered for me. So first was the blood. When I went into St. Luke's, I had to go to the lab in order to get those blood tests done. I think I misspoke on my last video. The process was to go in. I had to take a couple numbers. The guards here in the Philippines, they're everywhere. If you haven't been here, they are all over the place. And I think every single, the lab where the x-rays are, every single place in that hospital has a guard. So I spoke to one of the guards. He helped me out. He gave me a couple tickets. They called my first number. That was to go get my blood drawn. So they drew probably 5 or 6 vials of blood, and then went back out into the waiting room, waited there for them to call my name again, or my number. Once they called my number, I actually went up and paid. And the blood test ran, I believe it was a couple $100 for the blood test. So kind of expensive, but they did all the blood. So, I got back my A1Cs. They ordered stuff for my liver, and everything came back pretty good. Cholesterol was good to go. So no real issues there. When the blood test came out, I thought for sure I was going to be getting a phone call from the doctor. Kind of confused on what to do. So I actually messaged the doctor. I said, hey, have you guys received my blood test yet? And they said, no, actually, that's your job. You actually need to go into the lab, get your blood results, and then make an appointment with us to go over those results. Whereas in the US, my doctor would have access to those blood results really before I do. And they would be calling and saying, hey, this is what's going on. We need to set you up for a follow-up or whatever. So that didn't happen. So I did go into the lab, grab my blood test results, made the appointment, had to pay another 1,500 pesos. Okay, so in 2 appointments now we're talking 3,000 pesos, which is, roughly $60. After that, we went over the blood tests and we went to doing the stress test. So that was the next thing that was on order for me. They told me, unfortunately, that they had no open slots until September. Well, we leave to go to Korea in September this month. Fortunately, the cardiologist, I happened to run into him in the hospital hallway after I talked to the people about the stress test. I said, no, sir, they said that they don't have enough open slots until September. And he goes, give me a second. So he walked in and he got me a stress test within about a week. So I was able to get the stress test done. Went in, the stress test was, I think it was about $75 to get that done. If you don't know what a stress test is, basically they hook you up to like an EKG machine. You get on a treadmill and you walk at a pretty quick pace over a period of time. And there's different levels to this test that you have to surpass, and they monitor your heart rate and everything like that. So finished with the stress test, got the results. This time I knew I actually had to go in and get the results first. So that wasn't a big issue. I went in, I got the results, made a follow-up appointment again, and yes, another 1,500 pesos was out of pocket. So it was all told three or four visits. I don't remember exactly. I know 3 for sure. So you're talking, 4,500 pesos, 6,000 pesos, somewhere right around there for the actual hospital visits. The ER was 600 and some change. Blood test was 200, and then the stress test about 75. So, right around $1,000 is what I paid out of pocket. Hopefully TRICARE will, be giving me all that money back, but that's still undetermined at this point. It's, it wasn't a terrible experience, so to speak, but it wasn't the greatest experience either. They're a little bit behind as far as I'm concerned. Everybody is very professional though. Everybody is very friendly and everyone is willing to help. So that was the good side of it. So definitely not anything negative. But with the issues that I had, especially with this M.A.L.S, a lot of people don't know about this M.A.L.S disease, even in the United States. So I am certain that folks here, the cardiologist had no idea what I was talking about. It was like I was speaking Greek to him when I talked to him about that. So he had to look it up. Even the ER doctor really had no idea about that disease. So that is something that, for me, moving over to the Philippines, I'm really going to have to consider the medical side of things. I talked to my last one about the heat, whatever. I can sweat all day. I guess that's not a big problem. But the medical is an issue. We recently just spent some time in Palawan. We're here, and we went up to El Nido. And El Nido is pretty far up the coast. There's not a lot around there. And I can't imagine if my M.A.L.S decided to act up what I would do. It's a long drive through a lot of pretty rough country. And I just don't know what I would do. So I really think that any place in the Philippines that's pretty far out of the way of where there's good medical care would probably be a no for me. So that really leaves the bigger city areas on the outskirts of town. I wouldn't say I'm going to go that far south. I think Manila would be the place to be. And when I say Manila, I mean the outskirts. Within about 3 hours, I think would be fine as far as traveling goes. So Subic Bay, Angeles City, even Tagaytay wouldn't be bad because it's not really that far from Manila. So with this video, it's funny because my wife told me I need to have a little more fun on my videos. I don't know really how I can have too much fun on this one, only because this is more of a serious nature. We have some other videos coming up that we're going to talk to you guys about that are more fun and playful as far as that information goes. But this one, medical wise, again, folks, if you're going to come over here to the Philippines and you have any outstanding issues, just understand that everything moves a little slower here. Things don't get done like they do in the US as fast, which sometimes is a great thing, sometimes it's a horrible thing. So it's something that you have to consider. And I just wanted to give you more of a full story. One of our subscribers did ask me to do something just on the medical experience that I had and go into a little more detail. Other than that, you're going to get the usual. You're probably going to get a stomach bug. It's okay. You might get a cold. I did catch COVID here. We think I caught COVID. We're not entirely certain it was, but I did test positive one day, and I tested again a couple days later with a home kit, and it was negative. I had all the symptoms. The only thing that I didn't have was the loss of taste or smell. I still had those, but I did have like a lingering cough for a couple of weeks. Had a pretty decent fever and chills, and then had some stomach issues along with that too. But after a couple of weeks, I was good to go. I am vaccinated. Obviously, coming in here to the Philippines, I had to be vaccinated. Had my booster, so maybe my symptoms weren't quite as bad as some people who don't have those. But I didn't go to a hospital for it at all. I just kind of let it run its path or run its course, and I was fine. So if you have any other questions about medical stuff at all, again, we want to make sure that we really let you guys know that this is our take on it. This process that I went through is just my process. I would obviously advise you to go look at some of these other YouTube channels and see what people are putting out there and their experiences. So, take what you want with my video, look at others and see what they say. They may have other experiences and just go with it. And you can kind of put some pieces together to see for you what you need to do. I will tell you one thing that we did do before we left is we got some malaria pills. We haven't used one. So the malaria pills were supposed to be for when we're in Palawan. There's a lot of dengue fever over here. And, we just decided that we weren't going to take them. So, there's that for what that's worth. But anyway, if you have any comments for our video at all, please let us know. We'd love to hear them. Thank you for all of you who have subscribed. We hope, again, that you like the content that we're putting out. And we have a lot more coming from Palawan and El Nido and other places that we visited. Anyway, I hope you all have a great day. Take care, everybody, and sending our love and everything to you guys out there in YouTube land. Bye-bye.